Race number 2 of the NASCAR Cup Series season is complete, and I gotta say, it was a fantastic showing. This weekend, we got a doubleheader on Saturday for the Craftsman Truck Series, the Freight Racing 208, and the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, the Bennett Transportation and Logistics 250, and on Sunday, we had the Cup Series AutoTrader 400. Well, unfortunately, on Saturday, things did not go off to a good start. It rained in the morning, and as a result, the Cup Series practice and qualifying was canceled. That put Tyler Reddick on the pole because he was leading the points after his win at the Daytona 500. The weather persisted even after practice and qualifying were canceled, pushing the Truck Series race to start later than its intended start time. When the truck race finally got started, it was pretty calm actually. Nothing really crazy happened. Ben Rhodes would go on to lead 70 laps uncontested. Outside of a heads-up moment from Adam Andretti, who almost lost his truck into turns, the race itself was pretty calm. Bunch of racing single file on the top lane, and the only other driver who was trying for position was Carson Hocevar, who was daring to test the limits of his truck. The one truck that I was keeping a close eye on was Kyle Busch. He's the defending winner of this event from last year, and he also won it the year before in the same truck, the number 7 for Aspire Motorsports. This time he's rocking a HendrickCars.com paint scheme, and he's looking very strong. He started third, and he's contesting with Ben Rhodes for the lead, but nothing's really happened yet. He gets his chance when Corey Heim decides to challenge Rhodes for the lead. Unfortunately, at the conclusion of Stage 2, we run into a major problem. See, to not interfere with the CW's broadcast of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series pre-race show, yes, I'm not kidding, the Truck Series race got ended early. If they were still racing by 4:20, the race would be over within 2 laps. Yeah, I wish I was kidding. The CW, which hosts a pre-race show, which, by the way, is not on the racetrack, it's in a studio, made the call to end the Truck Series race early. And the frustrating part to me, there was at least 15 laps to go. They could have knocked it out within 10 minutes, if that. The Truck Series isn't known for crashing hard and ridiculous like the Cup Series or O'Reilly. So why on earth would you call the race early, NASCAR? There was plenty of time. For crying out loud. What? Oh, so we lose 30 minutes of track time? You've shown that Hampton, Georgia has no curfew, NASCAR. There is no reason to call the race early. What are you doing? Well, unfortunately, 4:20 comes, and it's 15 laps to go. Kyle Busch takes the lead and wins the race. He has now won the Atlanta race 3 times back-to-back-to-back. Something I found amusing about this race after the fact was that Carson Hocevar went to the start-finish line to shake Kyle Busch's hand. And he straight up admitted it was a company move, a PR stunt, if you will. Sort of a good job, teammate. But that's not the part that caught my attention. What caught my attention was Carson Hocevar is, as far as I know, the first driver to outright admit that at one point he did not like Kyle Busch running these races. He didn't enjoy seeing him win. He enjoyed it today because he was competing, but in terms of watching it, he wasn't a fan. Or maybe that's my interpretation. Well, let's put a pin in that for now, as next up is the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Thankfully, unlike Cup Series qualifying and practice and the Truck Series race, weather did not play a factor in this one. Sam Mayer leads the field to green, and everything looks like a smooth sailing so far, until Corey Day happened. Corey Day, lap 5, gets 3 wide, sends Ryan Sieg into the wall, and causes a caution. Completely unnecessary this early in the race. For Austin Hill standards, this race has been pathetic. And that's not to say he's been bad, far from it. Hell, I imagine most drivers would love to have the kind of numbers he's running today, but compared to how he usually runs at tracks like this, leading laps, kicking ass, he has been well off the pace. I don't know what it is, but Austin Hill isn't his usual self today. That's not to say he's never been up front. He's challenged for the lead a couple times, but generally speaking, it's been Jesse Love, his RCR teammate, who's been leading laps and taking names. In addition to Jesse Love, another surprise leader of this race is Raja Karuf. Jesse Love would go on to lead 31 laps, and Raja Karuf would go on to lead 22 laps. Coming towards the end of the race, Austin Hill finds himself running up front. White flag, final lap, he's in the lead. Ross Chastain comes up on his bumper, gives him a nudge, sends Austin Hill to the infield spinning. Austin Hill somehow saves it. And amongst all this, Sheldon Creed, the bridesmaid of NASCAR, somehow finds himself leading and goes on to win the race. If that's not the most Sheldon Creed way he could win this race, I don't know what is. Unfortunately for Austin Hill, Ross Chastain being in this race is an issue to me. Remember that pin I told you about? Well, here it is. Something that's kind of reared its head in the last couple weeks and something that I was afraid of was the allowing of Cup drivers to enter more races into the lower tier series. Why is that a problem? Well, let's see here. The Truck Series had 5 bushwhackers in their event. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series wasn't too bad this week with only 1, but I'm afraid that number could get bigger as the weeks could go on. And the problem with that is you're starting to see more of these guys running up front and winning these races. Now, I understand the argument. Oh, you want to have the Cup guys in there to give the younger guys more experience. You want to have someone to measure up against. You want to make your team better. That's all fine and good. But what happens when someone comes in, wins every weekend because they're a Cup Series champion and they have the best team behind them funding them? Well, then other teams are going to repeat that. And that's why we got the situation we had in the late 2000s where every single weekend in the Busch Series was Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, all winning week in and week out. Meanwhile, the regulars and the rookies got little to no seat time, and that's where we end up with stuff like Kevin Conway as the 2010 Rookie of the Year, Andy Lally as a 2011 Rookie of the Year, and Stephen Light as a 2012 Rookie of the Year. Not helping was that around the same time as the Cup Series drivers coming into the Busch Series and dominating was that Cup Series teams are trying out open-wheel drivers like Sam Hornish Jr. and Dario Franchitti after the success of Juan Pablo Montoya in the Cup Series. And what that caused was that many stock car prospects were pushed to the side in favor of proven talent from open wheel. And that just made the talent pool become smaller. In addition to this, in 2008, the economy went to hell, which meant there was less money going around. And at that point, if you didn't bring a sponsor, teams didn't want you. Are they going to take a chance on, I don't know, Reed Sorensen in a good car? Or are they going to take Dale Jr. with his backing from Hellman's Mayonnaise to drive your race car? Right? It literally came down to that in the late 2000s, which made the talent pool shrink even further. And it's still a problem we're dealing with to this day. And I'm afraid we're going to be seeing that again as time goes on. Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But with the amount of bushwhacking I've been seeing the last 2 weeks, it reminds me so much of my childhood, man. And it's going to... It's either going to get better or it's going to get worse. Before we talk about the NASCAR Cup Series race, I want to take a minute and talk about the NASCAR on Fox broadcast. Is it as good as the stuff from the 2000s? No. But is it better than what we've had before, especially in this decade? Absolutely. I love the bold colors. I love the little sound effects. I love that the drivers' portraits are back. It sounds like Mike Joy and Kevin Harvick are in sync again, which is nice to hear. Clint Boyer, it seems, has been, held back a little bit compared to previous years, which, you could take that or leave it if you wish. The pit reporters, as per usual, are some of the stronger parts of the broadcast, Jamie Little especially. I still love that Chris Myers is still doing NASCAR on Fox after all these years. And I especially love that he and Jamie McMurray have a pre-race show and they have little intermissions during the race itself. That's fun to watch. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it used to be. And I like that. Now it is time to discuss the Cup Series race at Echo Park Speedway. Now for starters, I've always had reservations about this place. Yes, Atlanta Motor Speedway needed a repave, but did they have to make it a quasi-super speedway? It's not even a full-size one. All they did was raise the banking in the corners and made the racing lanes narrow. Going 3 wide here is extremely claustrophobic. It looks barely comfortable enough to go 2 wide, let alone 3 wide. And these madmen out here are doing just that, going 3 wide. And in NASCAR's brilliance, they're boxing them in with the double yellow line rule. Ugh. My personal bias aside, how did this race turn out? Tyler Reddick started the race on the pole. For the first stage of this race, it's been Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano mixing it up for the lead. Alongside them is Carson Hocevar. Unfortunately, at some point, Carson Hocevar gets a flat tire and has to come down to the pits to repair it. One small problem, he misses pit road, so he has to drive around and come back in. He will lose 2 laps doing this. Bummer. Stage 1 is remarkably uneventful. Outside of Tyler Reddick, the leaders so far have been nothing but Fords, which isn't too surprising. Fords have been a very good super speedway manufacturer, but given that they weren't fast at all in the Daytona 500, to see them fast again in Atlanta shows that they haven't lost their touch, but rather it was an off week for them. Austin Cindric, who is working alongside the other Fords, goes on to win Stage 1. If Stage 1 belonged to the Blue Oval, Stage 2 belongs to the Bowtie Brigade. Chevrolet starts leading a bunch of laps in this race, Kyle Larson leading the lion's share of them. He's led more laps at Atlanta today so far than any other Atlanta race in the last several years. On lap 82, the caution comes out, and this is going to be the first example of many where a driver forgets to use his mirrors. Ty Gibbs attempts to pass Alex Bowman, and he doesn't realize there's a car underneath him. He gets loose, turns into the wall, and takes both himself and Josh Berry out of the race. Ty Gibbs, my guy, it's called a rear view mirror. Use it. In addition to getting the free pass after the completion of Stage 1, this caution with Ty Gibbs puts Carson Hocevar back on the lead lap. And as we've seen, just because he was off the pace doesn't mean he wasn't slow, as he was able to keep pace with the leaders even though he was 2 laps down. Carson's going to be a very dangerous man come the end of this race if he can catch up. Watch. So the race resumes and Chevrolet keeps doing their thing and they keep leading. At some point, Bubba Wallace in his Toyota starts challenging for the lead. And while all this is happening, another caution comes out. This time it's the big one. Austin Dillon gets loose underneath the 35, or rather behind the 35 car. They both spin in sequence like Olympic ice skaters in turn 2, and they end up collecting a bunch of cars. Ricky Stenhouse, Todd Gilliland, BJ McLeod. That's the other theme of the day besides drivers not using their mirrors. It's drivers getting aero loose. It's happened several times today. In fact, there's a lot of black marks on the wall from drivers hitting it. Well, the next caution that comes out is a case of being aero loose. Kyle Busch tries to go up in front of Noah Gragson on the backstretch. He gets loose, he spins towards the infield wall, and hits it. It was brutal. Thankfully, Kyle Busch was okay, but Kyle, you shouldn't be doing that, man. There is nothing wrong with riding in line and waiting till later to try again. When the racing resumes, Toyota starts challenging Chevrolet for the lead, with Tyler Reddick being the fastest Toyota on the track. While this is going on, Ross Chastain also finds himself up towards the front. This jockeying for position continues until Kyle Larson forgets how to use his rearview mirror. On the final lap of Stage 2, he cuts left to try to block SVG, and the only thing this late block accomplishes is Kyle Larson being wrecked into the inside wall and SVG slides through the grass. You know what makes this even worse? Kyle Larson's spotter even tells him on the radio, car inside, car inside, car inside. Larson, that means you're not clear. Why is everyone forgetting how to use their mirrors today? Am I going crazy? Your Stage 2 winner is Bubba Wallace. Something I should have brought up in the beginning of this video is much like the Daytona 500, strong winds played a factor in the race today, which probably explains why a lot of these cars were getting aero loose. Speaking of aero loose, that's the next caution. SVG gets loose on the front stretch again and spins into the grass. Thankfully, no damage. When the racing resumes, Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin are on the front row, but they are quickly swallowed up by the Fords with Ryan Blaney leading the charge. The Toyotas start falling back, and then all of a sudden, a caution comes out. Denny Hamlin gets loose off of turn 4 and hits Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick loses a fender, and all hell breaks loose. They collect the 71, the 88, and the 48. Massive pileup by the start-finish line. For all intents and purposes, this would ruin anyone's day. Or does it? When the racing resumes, the Fords are solely back in control of this race, and right behind them is Ross Chastain. Everything keeps going clean for a little bit until something stupid happens. Joey Logano gets dumped by Carson Hocevar. As we've seen last year, and as Carson demonstrated at the truck race on Saturday, he drives very aggressively. He doesn't care who you are. He's not here to make any friends. He wants to win this race. He's driving like a pissed off teenager, and he doesn't care. In many ways, it's admirable, but unfortunately, that could also lead to trouble, as we're about to see during this race. When the racing resumes, Bubba Wallace has the lead. Unfortunately, because this is less than 30 laps to go, everyone's driving really angry and really aggressively. Ross Chastain's pushing more. Carson Hocevar is surprisingly making moves that would have wrecked someone else, but he somehow makes it work. And while all this is happening, Tyler Reddick somehow, despite missing a fender, is just as fast as the leaders. It's insane. At some point, William Byron hits the wall, he breaks something, and he tries to limp at the pit road. Unfortunately, his car cuts right on the backstretch at the worst possible moment, and he causes a major accident. Ouch. NASCAR throws the red flag to clean up the mess, the first red flag of the 2026 season. Under this red flag condition, Carson Hocevar makes a proposition to Bubba Wallace, shake and bake. It's hard to tell if Bubba Wallace accepted Carson's proposition, given that Bubba started on the bottom lane and Carson started on the top lane. Regardless, the race resumes with a green-white checkered finish, and unfortunately, we can't even go to the first turn without something happening. Carson's aggressive driving bites him, as he tries to make it 3 wide, and he ends up dumping Christopher Bell. Now, to be fair to Carson, he was getting shoved mighty hard by Ross Chastain, and Carson did end up shooting left and almost took out Tyler Reddick, but at the same time, you gotta be smarter than that. Even in a green-white checkered finish, you gotta be smarter than that. Green-white checkered attempt number 2. Bubba Wallace is on the inside lane, Carson Hocevar is on the outside lane, Tyler Reddick is right behind them. Right. So, exiting turn 2, Bubba Wallace goes up to block Carson Hocevar. Instead, Carson shoots left, and Tyler Reddick goes on to pass both Carson and Bubba Wallace. Tyler Reddick obtains the lead. He has a car missing a fender and all kinds of battle damage. Coming to the white flag, Tyler Reddick has led 53 laps today. He just won the Daytona 500 a week ago. No one has ever won back-to-back races since Matt Kenseth in 2009. Could Tyler Reddick pull it off today? He comes around turn 4 for the final time. Tyler Reddick wins the AutoTrader 400 at Echo Park Speedway. This is Tyler Reddick's 10th win of his NASCAR Cup Series career. It's the 10th different track he's won on. And fun fact, this is the second week in a row Michael Jordan got to be there to celebrate with his team. If I were to give this race a rating, I'd give it an A. Sure, I have my problems with this place, but there's no denying that it's always put up a good show since it got the reconfiguration in 2022. One thing I want to add is that for now, I won't be going over the point standings every single weekend. I might change my mind later, but the earliest you'll hear about points from me is race 5, because by then we'll have a good sample size and see who ranks where. Then I'll give an update week 10, and then who knows, maybe as we get closer to the chase, I'll start going week by week to see where everyone's ranked. Because right now, yeah, Tyler Reddick's the points leader, but that could change within 3 to 4 weeks. Who knows? So, where are we headed next weekend? Well, here's where things get a little interesting. We're actually going to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, the first road course race of the season. Cup Series is going, O'Reilly Series is going, but oh, what's this? The Truck Series isn't going. Oh, where are the trucks going? They're going to St. Petersburg, Florida. They're going to run the street course on Saturday. Funny enough, this weekend coming up is also race 1 of the IndyCar season. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch, that's for sure. A little bit of a personal note for me, this weekend is also race 1 of the ARCA Menard Series West. Their race will be out in Bakersfield. I'm really looking forward to that one. The ARCA cars at Kern County always put up a good show. Thankfully, the weather in Austin looks pretty good, nice and clear. Unfortunately, there is rain in the forecast for St. Petersburg, so the trucks might be wearing rain tires. We'll see. I understand it's a road course race and everyone pretty much has SVG's name penciled in on the trophy already, But let's not forget, it's not over till it's over.